Welcome back to another episode of the S.E.M podcast. Jack Bryce and Zach Hewlett here again. And today we're joined by Scott Jump. How are you, Scott?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
This is great. So our format, we ask, how'd you end up in Scotland? If there's any story behind getting your call or getting ready for the mission. Then we skip over and we want to know what you've been up to since you got home. And then we'll go back and reminisce for a little while. So if you want to start us out with how you ended up there.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how long this is going to be because I don't remember a lot about the mission, but I do remember before the mission, a lot of it leading up to it, because I'm one of five in my family. And so I'm the fourth. So I have two older brothers and an older sister. And nobody in my family has ever went on a mission before. And I never really thought about going on it until probably high school, freshman, sophomore year. I had some really good young men leaders that I looked up to. So it was kind of just on the list once I got to high school, like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I just felt great about it. But then, the actual calling, it's kind of interesting because I just remember I was mowing the yard that day, and then, the mail truck came by and, dropped the mail in. And so I went and got the mail, and there was a letter. It was just like a regular envelope. And so I opened it up. And so at first I was just like, well, okay, this is something about my mission. I don't know what this is. And it was the flight itinerary. So it had going to Preston MTC, and then from there eventually you're going to go to the Scotland Edinburgh mission. So I saw on there Scotland Edinburgh mission, and I was just like, oh, I don't think this is my calling, but I'm like, I guess I'm going to Scotland. I don't know.
Holy cow.
And so I got that, and then a week later, I still never got anything else. So that was it. And then I finally called church headquarters and asked them about it. I'm like, hey, I never got my official call or anything. And so I guess it must have got lost in the mail or something. I don't know what happened to it, but so I don't know if it had to go through President Hinckley at the time again. So because they're like, well, yeah, we'll get a signature and stuff. So, and then about, a few days later after I called him, it was maybe a week later, I finally got my official call to the Scotland Edinburgh mission. So
nobody reached out to you and said, hey, are you going to accept this call? Or
yeah, because I thought you had to accept the call. That was, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. So I've never heard anybody else that happening to. I'm sure it has. I'm sure calls get lost in the mail all the time. Except hopefully not now, but
yeah, I would hope not. Maybe the junk mailbox.
Maybe the junk mailbox now. So
your wrong email address.
So then I started second guessing myself. Like, well, shoot, am I supposed to go? President Hinckley's like, well, maybe we shouldn't send them there.
That's crazy.
So I got that. I got the itinerary in end of September, I think, is what it was. So I still have my official call, so I kept that. I was like, that's one of the things I didn't keep much from the mission, but I did keep that for sure. So, but that's how I got my call to Scotland. It was kind of interesting because a lot of people were making fun of me because with my first name being Scott and going to Scotland, so I got a lot of razz for that. But even though nobody over there really knew my first name, so it didn't matter. Yep. So instead, I got made fun of for my last name. So that which I still do, but it's all good fun. So so that was my mission call.
What was the timeline of that, Scott? When did you get it, and when did you go to the MTC?
The MTC. Oh yeah. So I got that in September, and then I was supposed to report. I think it was December 23rd. is when I started. That was the day, because we went in like, it was like Christmas Eve or something. I think I left December 23rd. I don't remember. I know it was like around Christmas Eve. It was just
2003.
2003. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I think that date's right. That was the group before me, and I think I remember that being just like right before Christmas.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. So yeah, I do remember. Do you want me to go into the MTC now, or
No, let's skip
let's
skip over to
okay.
when you get home. Tell us
All
what
right.
you've been up
Yeah.
to.
Well, shoot, it's been almost 20 years. What about lots of things? So I live in Florence, Kentucky right now, which is basically about a half an hour from where I grew up. I grew up a little bit further south on a tobacco farm. So I got off the farm and moved north a little bit. So, but so right now I'm a CPA at a regional firm here in the Cincinnati, Ohio, Dayton, Columbus kind of area. We kind of cover the Midwest, a lot of Midwestern companies, as well as some Fortune 500 companies as well. But I work in the healthcare industry, so I work with a lot of physician practices, hospital groups, dental practices, home health care agencies, hospice agencies. So a whole spectrum of things, because I kind of specialize in a lot of Medicare reimbursement within that for them, as well as just financials, tax planning, tax projections, as well as future buy-ins and buyouts for all these doctors. And so I do all sorts. I'm, a jack of all trades and master of none, basically. So I got my hand on a lot of things, but it's
Awesome.
fun. Yeah, I love it. So
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Northern Kentucky University. So it's just a little school. We just became Division I. Like,
I was gonna say, isn't that the Hilltoppers?
No, it's the Norse.
Oh, that's Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky is the Hilltoppers. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, the Norse. But we have made the basketball team there. They've made the tournament.
Oh, that's right.
They made it last year. They would have made it their first year in Division I, but because of the rules, because they have to win out the conference to make the tournament. So,
How cool.
Yeah, it's a nice little school over here. So, and then I guess going back further, I guess when I came home from my mission, so I actually started at the University of Kentucky. I did my first semester there. So I got back at the end of December of 2005. Basically had like a week or two break, and I went straight into a semester at the University of Kentucky. And boy, I was in over my head. I like being out of school for 2 years. I was just like, man, I don't know if I couldn't even do basic math, I don't think, at the time. And here I am getting to accounting. It's like, I'm going to need some help here. So I had that first semester. It was a little bit rough for me, just being home and from the mission. It was kind of a tough transition period, I think, for me, if I'm being honest about it. But at the same time, I think there was a lot of great opportunities that kind of happened upon me as well. But so at the University of Kentucky, and then so I came home for that spring semester and lived at home there. So I came back in like May, and so I was dating a girl at UK she was going to another college, because we had there was a singles ward there. It was a very small singles ward in the Lexington, Kentucky area. So it wasn't very robust as far as, sure, a lot better out west and things, but so dating a girl there at the time, and then nothing serious though. And then so I came home in May of 2006, and then that's when I met my now wife at the time. So it's kind of a funny story because she came in, she was living in Lexington, South Carolina at the time. And so she flew in to see her sister who had moved in to my home ward at the time. And so, I didn't think anything about it. And so I was actually helping my dad and my brothers on the farm at the time. So I was raised on a tobacco farm. And so I think at the time planting. Yeah, we were planting the field. So we were, on the tractors and stuff. And this car pulls into the field. And then that's when Rachel, she got out at the time. I think she just got picked up from the airport or something. And then her sister and her nieces were there. And so I think she was a little bit embarrassed maybe because she just got off from the airport. She had her glasses on and stuff. And she looked tired, I guess. So, well, not to me, she didn't look tired, but that's what she says. So, and here I am covered in dirt from head to toe.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting this. And so she started talking to my dad and asking my dad all these farm questions. I'm like, man, who is this girl? Like asking, this old farmer about, like why she's so interested in this stuff. It was just funny. But and I just said hi to her. We didn't really talk much then, but it was just funny that they stopped by though. I think that they were wanting me to meet her. So then I think it was the next morning, I think I gave her a call and I was like, hey, you want to go out? And so we went out, I think the next night, and we just went to like a dinner and a movie. And then on the way home from the movie, we got rear-ended.
Oh my gosh.
So it wasn't too bad, but it was, I guess it was good because she could see how I was under pressure and how I reacted. So
yeah.
So luckily I kept my cool at the time. So, but then, so she went on a road trip. That's why she flew out. She flew up here to meet her sister, and then they were, I think, doing a road trip out to Salt Lake City or something. And they're like a week long. And I was working at my dad's factory at the time, so I was working a lot of hours as well as helping him on the farm. So I didn't have much time anyway. But we did talk a lot while she was out on the road and stuff. And then when she came back, I think she was only staying for a little bit longer, like a couple weeks before she had to fly back down to South Carolina. And so the end of May, we met May 23rd of 2006. And then, so we were hanging out like every day, like any time I got a chance. A lot of times it was me just going over there, and then I would fall asleep on their couch, like because I was just dead tired from work, talking a little bit, and that was it. So, or she'd come over to our house, like my house at the time, and same thing. So I was basically just sleeping all the time. But then, so that was in May, and then that Father's Day. So that was like a few weeks later. I don't know when Father's Day was that year. That's when I proposed to her. So it was like just a few weeks later.
Wow.
Proposed to her, and at first she was like, "Yeah, maybe," but so I convinced her to stay though. So she missed her flight and stuff. So she stayed up there with her sister for the summer, and then she did eventually go back for a little bit. And I think I drove down, and then we drove back up because we got all of her things, and we came back up so she could like stay with her sister then until we got married, which was in September. So we met at the end of May, and then we were married on September 16th, 2006.
Wow. So, man, what a whirlwind.
Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell for me and her, which I wish she was on here. She's got better mission stories, I think, than I do. She went on a mission around the same time I did. She got home, like she left in June of 2003 and got back in December of 2004. So she was like a year ahead, like from that perspective. but she was one of the first 3 sister missionaries to serve in Cambodia at the time. So, which was interesting. So yeah, she's got a lot more interesting stories than me when it comes to the mission. But Scotland's still a great mission. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, but she's like, I had to get married there because she was the one that helped me through college. So she gave me all the refresher courses because she had graduated college in 2000, I think. So
wow.
she graduated when she was 18 from college. So she probably doesn't want me to say that, but
that's amazing.
She's a genius. That's all I know. So
love that.
But yeah, so she definitely helped me out. Still helping me out. So things.
You guys have any kids?
Yeah, so I guess that's coming along as well. So so then we have 4 kids. Our oldest is Savannah, and she is 15, going to be 16 at the end of this year. So she was born in 2007. And then we had Virginia in 2010. So she is 13, going into 8th grade. And then we had Hazel in 2014. And then we had Henry in 2018. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think we're done now.
Does your son's sisters treat him like he's one of their sisters too, and braid his hair and all the crazy stuff?
Oh, no, I think for them, he likes to pick on them a lot. So he gets under their skin quite a bit.
Nice.
So, but they get along, together, like for the most part, pretty well. But it's mostly the 2 youngest kind of play a lot together, and then Virginia and Savannah, they kind of just do their own thing. So yeah, they're into piano, and Savannah she works now. She got a job this year, so she works at Kroger bagging people's groceries. So nice. she loves doing that, and she also volunteers at the library a lot. She hosts their Pokemon night that they have once a month.
Oh,
so
nice.
she's like the expert Pokemon girl in the area.
That's great.
Wow.
So,
very good.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else you want to know. I don't know.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can go back now. Now you can talk about the MTC, or
okay.
We'll just walk through, areas and companions, however you want to cover it.
Okay. Yeah, the MTC, it was kind of short-lived because it was only like a couple of weeks. Very small group. I think there was in the whole MTC group, there was 33 of us, I believe. But I was, so my companion, his name was Elder Kidd, and he was from Idaho. And I think he was the district leader too. But he went to the Ireland mission. So I was very glad he did to keep it nice. He was good. It's just, you're there for the first time, and
you guys were best friends, weren't you?
Yeah, we were best friends. We were close.
Oh man, that's so funny. I hope somebody shares this with him. That'd be hilarious.
we were there for 2 weeks together. How it's not really much to get along, but enough to know what annoys you. So not enough time to work things out,
oh goodness.
Right.
Which, I think it was because I'm a pretty quiet person. For the most part, very reserved. And then he was, I think, the exact opposite. Very, very outgoing, very arrogant a little bit, I would say. Very flirtatious with the sisters. I remember that. So that was kind of okay. Yeah. Anyway, so that was that. So I don't even remember who the MTC president was at the time. I don't.
It's President Bourdain.
Bourdain. Okay. All right. Now that name sounds familiar. So he was. I remember he was an okay guy from what I remember. I don't remember too much about that. I remember like he had to sing some kind of song or something that was really strange to me. I don't remember what it was, but it was just kind of an odd arrangement. But and then I remember going through the lessons when people like would come in, I think, and we had to like teach some lessons. That was nerve-wracking for me. Because you're teaching like a member. It's like, oh man, they're I would rather go out and just teach somebody that doesn't know anything, because they wouldn't know if what I was teaching was right or wrong anyway. But that was kind of intimidating. I remember the food was okay. I mean, it was all right. I just remember there was lots of toast. I remember that.
Yes, there was. It was good
lots
toast.
of toast. So, I don't remember anything else. Let's see. No funny stories that I can remember from my part. Like, because I kind of kept to myself a lot. Like, and it was just I just tried to study as much as I could. That was my main thing was just constantly studying. It felt like.
Did you find that there was a little bit of a culture shock having grown up in Kentucky and being thrown into England and trying to get a grasp of everything at all?
I mean, I'm guessing there was, like, because I was going through my journals and I was and I just remember I loved it there because it was so green. But I'm kind of used to like it was because where I grew, like where I'm at now, it's pretty green. But it was like a sharper green there. It was different from that perspective. I did like that, although I didn't like the fog. I remember there was a lot of fog, especially that time of year.
Right.
But then, like when we went on that tour, that was pretty neat. I really enjoyed like was it the Ribble,
yeah.
Ribble, yeah. And then like where I think President Hinckley stayed when he was a missionary.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty neat. Some good history there. I mean, lots of history with the church. But I feel like they took all the members out, and they uprooted and went to Utah.
It's true.
And now it's like, as you can tell, especially in Scotland, it was tough.
Gleaning after the harvest.
Yeah,
that's right. Agreed.
So, but yeah, the MPC. I remember going to ASDA. I believe is what it was.
That's right.
Getting some more ties. I don't know what that was. Just the thing, I guess. Just everywhere I went, it was like there's a tie, and I don't even think I have hardly any of the ties for my mission. I do have like the S.E.M, like both of those. But I think one of them kind of came apart. I need to get that fixed or something. Because I used to wear it like every Christmas or something like that. I think the church.
Nice.
But now I think I only wear like one or two ties. I just don't wear many ties anymore, except for on Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that. That was a little different because like just some of the food was just different. When you're. Although I think for my first couple of areas, it was all ramen. I think was what I ate. That was it. Ramen, and then like these little for breakfast. I think they were called Muellers or something. It had like, I think that's what they're called, but it had like some cereal in one end and like yogurt, and you just dump it in. And
yeah,
that was my breakfast for I don't know how long.
Oh man.
So yeah.
Now you get to throw your trainer under the bus for not teaching you what you're supposed to buy at ASDA or at Tesco's before you.
Oh.
Man.
So But yeah, so now I guess going into the mission, so that was the MTC. From my perspective, I was just glad to get out of the MTC and get to Scotland, because it was a short 2 weeks, but at the same time, I kind of remember it just lingering a lot. So get to Edinburgh, and which, when I did get that itinerary, I did say Edinburgh. So I was like, oh, Edinburgh, okay. But
It's fair.
learned quickly that was wrong when I got to church and started telling people, and a few people corrected me. So
Nice.
But anyway, so the MTC to Edinburgh, I think we had it was a train ride there. I don't think it was plane. I think it was a train ride, which that was really cool. I mean, just because we don't get that experience here, really, And
True.
And I really love the train. I love the train system there. That was awesome. I wish that we had that here more. But so get there to the mission home there on Spylaw Road, and I think it was so we had dinner with I think the mission president, and so President Vreens and Sister Vreens. And I remember, I think it was the next day or next morning. It was really early, I think. We went up to Pratt's Hill, and I don't remember if it was that one or the one at the end, because we went at the end, I think, didn't we too?
Yep.
Okay. One of those was really snowy, I thought. I don't know if it was when I first got there, which would make sense. Well, when I left too, so I guess it wouldn't matter. I just remember it was cold, kind of icy, lots of wind, and somehow I was able to focus my prayer, to God somehow through all that to try to dedicate my mission. And I hope I didn't disappoint him, but so I remember that was a really neat experience. And then I don't remember really meeting my trainer at the mission home. I don't remember hardly any of that stuff, but I do remember getting hugged by President Vreens. I mean, that's kind of hard to forget, a hug from him. So those are unforgettable. But then I got with Elder Nielsen was my trainer.
Okay.
I forget his first name.
Is it Matt Nielsen?
No, it was it was Daniel.
David.
That's it. I should know that. Oh man, I hope because I mean, he was a great trainer. I was only with him for 6 weeks. And we went to so he brought me back to his place in Easterhouse, which, I mean, to start the mission, that's probably one of the more glamorous places, I think, to go.
Well said.
So, which oh man, now you talk about culture shock. That's where I think the culture shock set in. Was, this city, I had no clue where I was. I mean, and then to start, going around on the bus system. I like the bus system, but at first it was just wow, this is so confusing. And but luckily I had a great trainer, Elder Nielsen, and so he was a go-getter, very very hard worker. I think he was a farm boy like me, so we, two farm boys in the ghettos of Glasgow. So it was, but we stayed alive. We didn't really have any much trouble. I do remember getting, at the time, run out of one of the high rises, one of the high flats. I just remember because we taught this lady, I don't know what floor it was on. I don't even know who it was. but she had us come back. We just taught her like on her doorstep there out in the hall. And then like, I don't know when it was, like a couple of days later or a week later that we went back, and this guy answered the door, and he was not having it with us. He walked us he made sure that we left the building completely. That's all I remember. And I remember Elder Nielsen he was like kind of standing up to him, and I'm thinking like, man, let's just go. Like, I don't want any trouble. So we got out of there, because there was a lot of like, I think we did a lot of the high rises there, because a lot of the council house, like the housing around there was like boarded up. I mean, there was like all the, what do they call, schemes or whatever, like that they had there were just, it was pretty rough. And I was only there for 6 weeks, but I think that those 6 weeks felt like the longest in my whole mission. That's for sure. And it was just cold and miserable. I remember I had this like London fog, like trench coat type thing that I wore every day. And I remember every night when we come in, I would set this thing in our study room. I would set it on a chair, and I had this big thing of Febreze, and I would just douse that coat in Febreze every night, because it just reeked of cigarette smoke. And it was just every night. I remember that. That was the only place I think I felt like I had a ton of cigarette smoke on me all the time. But it was pretty cool, because I think that was pretty close to Celtic Stadium as well. Because I remember we walk over, because the ASDA was like pretty much by Celtic Stadium. And I remember there was like, I know when they had matches, like the next morning, like there's this huge field out in front of it, like just huge field. And it was just littered in trash after every match. It was just like, and just glass. It's just like, golly, it was horrendous though. And then I remember going up to, I guess, our section, because we used to GQ up on the high streets there in Glasgow somewhere. I guess that was our area. I'm not for sure. I don't know, because I felt like other missionaries were GQ in there too all the time. But I remember there was this lady that we had chapped into like earlier, and I didn't even think she would like remember this or anything, but I was like GQing, and like, so Elder Nielsen's like on the other side, I was on one side, and then this lady just like yells at us, like very excited to see me. Like, I'm like, man, I don't know who this lady is. And so she runs up to me, gives me this huge hug, and then like kisses me, and I'm like, what is going on? And Nielsen saw it as well, and he's already laughing at me, I think. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you." And like, I guess we must have left her a Book of Mormon, because she said she had read it and stuff. And so then we got another appointment with her, but then that was it. Like, she never opened the door to us or anything. So it was a very strange encounter, for sure. Yeah.
Did she smell of booze at all when you had that kiss?
I can't remember that. So
I'm sure you forgot to sniff anything in that moment of shock. You're getting kissed. Goodness.
I'm like, this isn't going to look good. Hopefully nobody's snapping a pic of this and making the headline of the news or something. But so let's see. Some of them, like, it was a very small. I don't know if it was a ward or a branch. I think it was like the Spring Spring Boy. Yeah, that was okay. Yeah. Did any of you serve there? Or
I was there for a few weeks in my mission.
Weeks? Okay. Yeah. So I remember there was one family. I think it was Goldbergs. The Goldbergs, I believe. like we saw them like once a week. Like they always had us over for dinner. But I think the dad of that family, I think at the time he was excommunicated at the time. But while I was there, I think that's when he was able to he got reinstated and was able to be rebaptized. That was a pretty exciting moment for him. I know that because I mean he was like he stayed faithful through it all. I don't you know but so that was one positive thing that I remember there. But yeah, as far as like the teaching pool was like a constant turnover there. Just trying to get people to listen and just to talk to. I mean, it was just hard. But so that was Easter House. So that was 6 weeks there with Nielsen, and so Nielsen had the fortune to stay there while I moved on, even after he was there for, oh man, I don't know, he was there for a long time. I felt bad for him for that. But so my next area, I got to serve with Elder Sprague, Caleb Sprague, which I did listen to his podcast.
Yeah.
And we went to Paisley, and I believe we reopened it or something because we were both new to the area, and for some reason I don't know, I thought there was something that happened at a bus stop by the church or something to some elder before that, so they closed the area, and then they reopened it, which I think that was a theme in a lot of areas, it seemed like. Because I'm pretty sure that they closed Easter House for a little bit, I think after Nielsen, because
were you there when the building was still intact, or was the building
we met at some like primary school, I think.
Okay. Then it was after
in Easter House, yeah.
Okay.
So that was after the building burnt down. Okay. I do, yeah. That was before me. So
okay. I just heard stories about it. I wasn't sure timeline wise when that happened.
Yeah, that pretty wild. I don't know much. I don't remember much about it or what happened.
Yeah.
But
you just say Ned's. That's all you have to say.
Oh, that makes sense. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Goodness.
So Paisley and Ned's. I mean, Ned's there too, because that was like it's more like on the west side of Glasgow, like a suburb of Glasgow, I think. Mm-hmm. So I went from the east side to the west side there. I don't remember too much. I don't remember the areas there. I just remember Elder Sprague. I liked serving with him. He probably, I don't know. He probably thought I was too quiet, too reserved. I know he did sometimes, because I know he would get frustrated with me sometimes if I didn't speak up, or, here I was only, still pretty new. I mean, and he was only like, I think a transfer or two before me. So, I mean, we were both fairly new to the mission. Mm-hmm. But I remember listening to a lot of Coldplay. I do remember that. So anytime I hear Coldplay now, like I think about Elder Sprague. So,
oh my gosh,
that's great.
That is on point right there.
And I remember, I thought we played Risk a few times. I remember it was a lot of fun with Sprague. He was all about the fun at the time. Because I know he changed a lot through his mission, because I remember going on exchanges with him, I think when he was a zone leader. And he was still the fun, but I could tell, like, he, not that he wasn't, we were still both, I didn't know what I was doing out there. And so remember that's where I ate a lot of ramen, actually. I think was with Elder Sprague.
Goodness.
Because I don't remember too much of teaching there either. Man, that's terrible. I think it was just because it was like my first couple of areas. I was just still trying to get, trying to get my feet wet and
Yeah. Shell shocked.
yeah.
Going door to
So,
door.
A lot of chapping.
A lot of chapping, yes. I do remember that. Lots of chapping.
It
I
was
remember
probably
getting
rainy and wet and cold and freezing over on that side of the Glasgow too.
Yep. I remember a lot of sunny rain. Like it was a sun shining, but just pouring rain on us. So I remember that. And I do remember one family that took us to dinner. I think they were investigators for a long time. I don't remember their names, but they were a great family. And they took us to some pub, and that's where we ate dinner one time. And I remember the mom, we got her to pray somehow. Like she had never, because I remember the husband at the time, like afterwards, was like, man, like, wow, it's the first time I've ever seen her pray or something like that. And that was a pretty cool experience. I don't think anything ever came of it because they were really long time investigators. So I'm sure like eventually it's somebody had to part ways or like, or some kind of, lost touch. I think we got back in touch with them just because we were just trying to pick up where, from months before where everything left off. So there was like, well, let's go visit them. And they always, let us come and visit them. Let's see. So that was not much else of Paisley that I remember. I just felt like I think I know why. Like after all these years, I think I just had seasonal depression because the areas that I was in more in the like the winter time and like early spring, that's where it was like the toughest for me. And I think it was just because of, just me.
We've learned through this podcast that, and I don't remember this because I was only with them for 6 months before I went home, but President and Sister Frederick, who followed President and Sister Vereen's, apparently Sister Frederick used to push vitamin D supplements. And I don't remember Sister Vereen's ever saying anything about that.
No.
And had she, I probably would have taken her up on it because that was a big deal. Like those days were just gloomy and dreary and awful. It was tough.
Yeah, it was. Especially when you're just chapping on doors and that's, all you're seeing is doors. Like you're not even people opening up at the time. Exactly. It felt like. Yeah. But then, so I was there for, I think, 2 transfers with Elder Sprague. And I want to say he stayed. And then I moved on. And so this time I went up north to Peter Heed. So, and I loved Peterhead. I was there for 6 months. And I fell in love with that place like automatically. I think maybe part of this is where I was talking about partially because I think summertime was coming up, late spring and then just being out in the country, like just being away from like just that city, that gloom that just sits over that city, and just going out to the fields of the northeast. It was a car area, so it was my first car area. And I was there with Elder Allred, Scott Allred. So, and he was a great companion. So I think he had been out maybe 6 weeks, 6 or 3 months. So I became the senior companion then with him. And but he showed me around, and so I let him drive at first. But then I think it was like I was supposed to drive, and that was fun. I loved driving over there. It was a little hard at first getting used to because I kept wanting to veer to the left, I think. And I was so afraid, like I'm going to be knocking people's mirrors off as I'm going down the street. But learned pretty quick, to straighten it up. And but that was fun. I could just drive. Like I loved going to like the different villages sometimes, like around that area, because on a nice day and not wasting time. Just, you need some fresh air. And that was the place to get it for sure. But when I was with Elder Allred, we stayed in the flat that we stayed in. It was pretty disgusting. It was, as a lot of flats over there, I think were. But this one was like really old, but it was kind of cool at the same time, I guess. I just remember like we had this, like the front living room, I guess, that looked the street, because we were like right across from the Tesco. I mean, there was a Tesco right across from us. And so we had this huge bay window in our front. And I remember, because of that time of the year, the sun didn't I mean, we'd be in bed, but that sun would still be up at 10:30 or 11 or sometimes, and then the sun was up at 3:30 in the morning up there. It was, I thought that was pretty cool. And then of course it was really bad in the wintertime because of that when you're up there. But I remember there was a lady and her daughter that we taught a lot, and they had red hair, I think. You were up there, right, Jack?
Yeah, we both served up there.
Oh, you both served up there.
I trained Zach.
Oh, you got trained. Oh, yes,
Right.
yes.
Yep, we were both there.
Man, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure that was in here. Maybe it wasn't.
You're talking an older daughter, right? Like mother and daughter.
Yeah.
Adults.
No, she was probably like a teenager.
Oh,
the daughter was. But we used to go there. We'd mow their yard a lot, but we had to stop going there. It was getting a little bit, because it's like you're just, I mean, not like you're wasting our time, but I mean, they basically just said, oh, we just like the missionaries' companies, and that's why missionaries had always been going over there. And I mean, well, we'd go by and mow their yard. I remember that a few times. But like in Peterhead. So I think they met in Mintlaw. That's where the academy was. Mintlaw Academy, I think is what it was. Do they have a building now? Because I thought that they were. I mean, they should by now. I mean, it's been 20 years. But they were planning on it at the time.
I think they dedicated it maybe either just before or just after I went home. So like late 06, early 2007, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's good. I mean, I like that ward. That was a nice ward. But there was a lady there that we chapped into. Her name was June Bruce. I don't know if you remember her.
I remember June Bruce.
Yeah, she was quite the character. But when we chapped into her, I mean, she lived right down the street, I think, from the academy, from what I remember.
Yeah.
But she had like these two little dogs, and she would always give us snacks and feed us and all that. But it was confusing at first, because she was like, oh, because we started teaching her the lessons, which she had been gone for a long time from the church. But come to find out, well, she was a member. So I was like, oh, okay. Because she was like, I'm wanting to get baptized and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, and then come to find out, but she's like, well, I think I was baptized like somewhere in England, because that's where she was from. And so we finally got her records, moved in. And then I think eventually, she did end up going to the temple, which was, I think that was pretty cool. When I heard about that, because we wrote a little bit to each other after I came home, but I lost touch pretty quick with a lot of people. That was one I wish I would have, because I mean, she was awesome. She was awesome to me. Like and sometimes I would call her as well when I came home from a mission. There was a couple times. Because she was telling me about her temple experience and stuff like that. So, but that was pretty neat.
Cool.
Which now, I mean, I don't know, she was an elderly lady then, so I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to it's like I'd like to reach out, but it's like I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough. That is a
yeah,
tough one.
yeah.
I'm still in touch with Fraser Dawson. If you ever
Fraser
want to,
Dawson.
he could probably put you in touch because they used to
Okay.
live. I think they're out in like Cruden Bay area, if I remember, Jack,
Okay.
or somewhere close to that. And he's still involved in the stake in Aberdeen. I don't know if he lives in the Aberdeen area or what, but
Okay.
if you need someone that can try and track her down, I have
Yeah.
somebody. So
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah. Cool. All right. But yeah, so with Elder Allred, and then I don't know if it was with Elder Allred or my next companion, but we actually moved flats at the time. Like I remember the mission president was like, "Go find a new flat." It's like, okay, like I don't know, like I've never done this before, especially on your mission. Like I don't have time for this. So I don't know if I don't know if it was the same place that you guys were at, but it was. We ended up getting this place that you kind of go behind, and then you go up these steps, and then you go up more steps.
The King
And
Street flat.
yeah, and then there's like just this little, what was it, like 2-bedroom flat. It was pretty small, I thought. But
Yeah, that's where we were.
It was sufficient. We hit our heads on the
yeah,
ceiling a few
yeah,
times because it was almost like an attic type of a
yeah,
configuration, right? Where you go in and then some of the rooms were pitched because of the
yeah,
roof above. So
yeah. Well, you two would have liked the other flat, I think, better than, because that place, there was tons of room in it. Like, but it was just
not if you say
really
it was
dingy.
as minging as you
It
said
was
it
minging.
was.
Yeah, it was minging. All right. Yeah.
Oh man.
So, but I remember that flat. I hated it. Even though we were the ones that picked it out, it's like, why did we pick this after we moved in? It's like, because like you had to go like buy the electricity for it. I remember I think you had to like put those cards in or something, and it was just like, oh man, like this is ridiculous.
I'd forgotten about that until more people started talking about it because I was still so new, and Jack just kind of handled the business without me paying attention most of the time, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, well, we didn't pay attention at first until it was like, man, it's cold in here. So yeah, so we had to go down to I think it was at the post office. You had to like go buy them, and it was weird. Yeah, I didn't like that too much having to, because I remember, because then we had to watch our electricity. Like, oh, are we gonna have hot water this morning, or do we need to go down to the post office? And then you had to make sure you budgeted your money, because I mean you got reimbursed for it. I think we did.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if it just came out or we got some kind of reimbursement.
Yeah, reimbursed, but there was a cycle because you had to submit for it. So.
Yeah. So
crazy.
I remember there, that's when I ruined my first suit because of a pigeon walking down the street, and it just got my pants. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I do remember that. And then I think we worked at some charity shop there, I believe, for a little bit. I don't remember. But yeah, I remember like going down there on the the docks and stuff down there, right there on the the breakwaters and stuff. We'd go out there. I remember there was somebody there that took us fishing. I think it might have been Raymond Davies. I think that was his name.
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he took us out fishing, and I remember catching this little fish out of the ocean, like the smallest fish in the ocean, and then I went to throw it back in, and like I think a seagull or something swooped in and got it. I'm like, well, sorry, little buddy. Because I think there was like seals up there too. I remember.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a lot of like people would go diving out there, and it's like, man, with their wetsuit. I'm like, man, it's cold. Like, I don't know how they do that. But I remember like we had a pretty good teaching pool up there, but I felt like it was always a strong teaching pool, but just, nothing ever like while I was there. I don't think, from what I remember. So I don't know if we left it in disarray for you guys or, because after Elder Allred, then I got had the opportunity to train Elder Reed. I think it was Christopher and Chris. I think he might have been. I think I might have watched his podcast.
I think it's Nathaniel.
Nathaniel.
Yeah.
So
I followed you into that area.
Okay.
Because I served with Elder Reed.
Okay.
That Christmas, so he and I were together up there.
Sorry, Nathan. I didn't mean to call you Chris. If you listen to this, so he was a good companion. I probably got on his nerves. I mean, we both got on each other's nerves, I think, but it was all in good fun. Because he was. I mean, I was a trainer, so I don't know if I trained him well. You might have had to.
Lots of remedial work.
Yeah, I'm sure. Especially his driving.
Driving was terrifying.
What? Yeah, I do remember that with him. Because he's like, hey, I want to drive. I'm like, okay. I'm like, have you driven a stick before? He's like, well, no. Man, I think we were up in like Fraserburgh or something, like somewhere like we had some room, and I don't know, he might have stalled it. I don't know, but I didn't give him much. I wasn't much patience with him on that. I was just like, all right, that's it. I'm back to driving. So, so that was the end of his driving career with me, which I was kind of hoping he would drive, because it's just to give me some, so we can go back and forth on driving. So Elder Reed, I think he was very outgoing. I mean, he was very jovial. I think he was like I don't know if he's like a theatrical kid or.
Yeah.
But he was fun, because I remember I think he was trying to teach me like some sword play or something. Like he was in the sword play. I don't know. So, and I was just like, I couldn't get that, but that's what I remember from him. But yeah, he's somebody I'd probably hang out with though, like, a little bit. But I hope I didn't get on his nerves too much or whatnot, because to be honest, like all my mission companions in Scotland were great, except for my MTC companion. But so yeah, that was Elder Reed. I think we were only together. Because I was up there for 6 months. I don't know if I was there for 3 months with him or just 6 weeks. But yeah, that was me and him. And then I got called to Dunfermline, where I served a couple months with Craig Rasmussen, and he was great. I really liked hanging out with him. I think we played some basketball together there in that area. I think that was the first time I got to play basketball while I was over there. I definitely missed it, and when I got to play, I was horrendous, because I'm like, man, I have been practicing. I need,
I heard through the grapevine that you and Craig Rasmussen took people to school in Dunfermline basketball. I can't remember who said that, Jack. I'm trying to remember, but like apparently you guys played enough that you guys were really good. I think maybe it was Brennan Fish. I think he said that maybe he came down and played. I don't remember, but man, it was.
Yeah, I remember playing, but I don't remember in Dunfermline playing too much. I remember playing at some ward building, I think. But later on, I'll tell you about where I really played basketball on the mission.
Nice.
But so yeah, me and Rasmussen got together. We did a lot of GQing, and I remember listening to his podcast, because I remember and I don't remember this for the life of me, because I kept thinking like, man, I don't remember that, because he was telling a story about me where he was punking me or something, going back over. I think I don't know. We were over the mission home. We came back over the 4th, and at the toll, I guess I had to put some like, and he told me to say like, one for Dunfermline or something. And
Right.
I mean, I don't remember it, but I'm sure it probably happened. I probably had no clue what I was doing. So yeah, I don't remember being mad though, but if I was, I'm sorry about that. But yeah,
It's fun.
yeah, I was trying to remember, like, man, I don't remember that. And I didn't find it in my journal at all. So
That's amazing.
But I remember.
Were you guys in the area in Dunfermline? Because I made the exact same transfer that you did, Scott, where I went from Peterhead to Dunfermline.
Oh, really?
Were you guys in the car area that covered like Dalgety Bay and Cowdenbeath and Kelty and all that too?
I know it was a car area.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember all the areas though. There were so many different.
That means you went to Happy Days Club with Brian,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yes.
I do remember, like, where we served tea, played bingo.
Tea and biscuits and bingo and everybody smoking cigarettes.
Oh,
it was
yes.
the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, actually.
It was a lot of fun.
It was fun. But yeah, I remember that. I do remember, I don't know if it was me driving or if it was Craig driving. It was on P-Day. We went to the store, and when we pulled in and, put it in park, all of a sudden the smoke starts rolling by us. Like, what in the world? And we had kept the emergency brake on the whole way there. I don't know if it was me or if I'm gonna blame that one on Craig. So I'm gonna say that was Craig.
Oh my gosh! And you guys lived in the flat that was like immediately adjacent to the train tracks behind you, right?
Do you remember that? I think so. It was pretty close to the Ward building, I believe.
Yeah, you could walk to the Ward, and then there was like a big roundabout you'd have to go around to go to Asda across the way.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. We lived in the same spot. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that was like the first, I think, 2-story Ward building I had ever seen.
Yeah, it was really unique. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But I think that's where I had Christmas for the first time on my mission. And yeah, I really wish I would have remembered more people though that I had talked to. I mean, even going through my mission journal, I would just there was like a lot of people mentioned, like who we stopped this person, and we were teaching it, but it's like I can't remember them at all. And I used to pride myself on my memory of like people and stuff, and now it's like I can't do that.
All right, I'm going to give you some names and see if it jogs any memories. Okay. Did you spend time with the Hudsons, with Tim and Dom and Philippa and their mom Julie Bramwell?
Bramwell, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, Julie and
Bramwell
and Nan, they lived out in Dalgety Bay.
Okay.
And then we were teaching Megan Hargreaves, and so we spent a lot of time with Liz and them up in Kelty and their family. And then Paul Rand was our ward mission leader, and then you had his dad, who was recently remarried. That we had Sunday dinners over at their house every week. And then I'm sure Bishop Lynch was probably the bishop at the time. And
I remember that because my bishop was Bishop Lynch back at home. So I do remember that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So on this past Sunday, I watched a live sacrament meeting on Facebook of the Montrose ward where I served, and Joshua Lynch, who was the second son, is in the bishopric in Montrose, and his brother also lives in the Montrose ward now as well. Okay. But man, there's some great people in that ward. We had the Watsons, we had the Listons, that were in the other area. We spent a lot of time with, oh my gosh, my brain just lost the name. Where'd it go? No, we just so many wonderful people there. It was a great ward.
Yeah, I remember. I think we went over to the Lent for Christmas. I think the Lynches. I think.
Did you?
Christmas. Yeah,
that's cool.
Which maybe that's why I don't remember that area so much, because once again, this was around winter time, and I do remember like I couldn't ask for a better companion during that time though. Like just to get me through. I hope I didn't make it hard for him. So, but then I got moved. So I was there for maybe 1 or 2 transfers. And then I moved to Dalkeith, which I think was like southeast of Edinburgh or something, I want to say. And with Elder Howe. I think it was Trevin Howe. That guy was cool. He definitely helped me out a lot. Even though like that was probably one of my lowest points on my mission. I think was Dalkeith. Yeah, I was just miserable there. Yeah, I remember that was a tough part. I don't remember much of it all, to be honest, because I really tried to like just get that out of my head. So, but Elder Howe definitely, he was a great companion, a big help. Even though he may not have known at the time, but he definitely helped me out quite a bit there because actually, and it wasn't because of Elder Howe. It was just because of me. I think I asked for a transfer or like what do you call it? Like an early transfer or something, like just to get out of the area. I'm pretty sure I was there for like 2.5 months, I think, with him. It was just, yeah. So I wish I had more to say about, I do know that's where he introduced me to some eating duck eggs. So I do remember that.
Nice.
But don't remember much else as well. I think we were both into the same kind of music, I think, as well at the time, but he didn't listen to it like Elder Sprague did though. So
nice.
So that early transfer. So I left early out of Dalkeith, and I moved into Sterling. And but it's funny. It's like I bet if I would have stayed like another month in Dalkeith, I probably would have been good because it was like starting to turn spring. Because I got to Sterling, and yeah, it was like starting to turn spring and summer, and I loved Sterling, and I served there with Elder Brian Rhodes. And that's somebody I would love to hear from. Him and Elder Allred, those two. Just I don't know, I wish I would have kept in touch with them.
We'll find them.
Yeah, because even if they don't, I would just love to get in touch with them, me personally, see what they're up to, or But Elder Rhodes, he was, I think, from Oregon. I think he was from the Portland area, or Richmond, Oregon, I believe is what it was.
Okay.
And I don't know if he came out with you guys, or maybe it might have been younger than came out later on. But he was kind of a reserved guy, kind of like me. We had very similar personalities, I thought. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but as far as like going out and teaching, like, but I think we both encourage each other quite a bit, and I think we had a lot of success. I think in Sterling, we did a lot of GQing there, like on their high street, and it was just a cool city because I mean, you get up in the morning and you go out and you see this huge castle every morning on the hillside, and it was just like, hey, this is Scotland. You definitely knew you were in Scotland, in Sterling, plus all the history there as well. So we started teaching a guy named Arthur Coulter, and he was he was a really quiet guy, but he wanted to learn, and so we taught him quite a bit, and he ended up being baptized. I want to say one of his relatives, I think, was a member in the ward at the time. that baptized them. So that was really cool to see. It's like full circle with some family members there for him. But yeah, he was a great guy. I mean, he had some troubles with smoking, but I mean, nothing nothing he can't overcome. And he was always dead set on it, and he did really well. I thought, and I hope he's still doing well. I mean, because he had some family support there, which was good. That's when it's just good to see like that support system there. And I think we shared the ward with another set of missionaries. I think there was like 2 sets that went to the ward there, because the ward wasn't in Sterling; it was
Alloa.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I think at the time it was Elder Fisher, maybe Fisher and Fish, maybe. I don't know if they served it. I'm not 100% sure, but they were fun to hang out with. I do remember that. And but in Sterling, that's where I played a lot of basketball, though.
Oh, really?
They had this park. It was like, so if you've ever been to Sterling, there's the Wallace Monument, the Mel Gibson Monument, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But so right below that hill, there's like this really, really nice like full court basket, like just park style ball. Mm-hmm. And so me and Elder Rhodes, we used to start going there just to shoot ball. And there was a lot of kids at the time, or Neds. I don't know if they were Neds or not, but they would start coming over. And I mean, we used to have a lot of people coming out, a lot of these kids. And
I went there and played with you guys once.
Oh, okay.
I was in Falkirk.
Okay.
So
yeah. So like on P-Day, yeah, we started doing that. And there was some other. I think there was one guy who's from like Lithuania. I think we taught a little bit from that. But most of the other, they were just kind of, I don't think they were Neds, but they were, they kind of teased us a little bit, but then they would have to quit because I think they smoked all the time. So they just couldn't run. It was just like, they're like, oh, we're done. It's like, oh, come on. And we were playing full court ball. So I don't know, that's probably not allowed, but it wasn't in a gym. It was outside.
Well, President Brains doesn't know, won't hurt him.
Yeah. But,
that was my philosophy anyway.
Yeah.
As long as I didn't hurt myself.
Yeah. So me and Elder Rhodes would just, I mean, we took people to town all the time. Like Elder Rhodes he was the real deal. Like he was good. He was big into basketball as well. So that was another thing we had in common. And we had a lot of things, I think, in common as well. So that was hard when we had to split up, because I could have served with him probably the rest of my mission. And so I was in, I was there for like 6 months or so. So yeah, Peterhead and Sterling were my 2 longest areas, like 6 months. So while I was there, so Rhodes, he went, I don't remember where he went, but then I got Elder Parmenter, Glenn Parmenter, and you guys had him on. I did watch his, and he was a good guy. I think at the time he was a little bit quieter. At the time when he was with me, I think he might have been going through some things or something, but we both, I don't know how long we served for. I don't know, together. I don't know if it was 3 months or 6 weeks. But I don't know if you want me to say this out loud, but
yes, we do.
But it was based from President Vereen's instructions. So President Vereen's, when he called and he's like, "Hey, you're getting Elder Parmenter," and he's like, he needs a little bit of help getting up in the morning. I'm like, okay, I can do that. So he's like, no, really, he really needs help getting up. I'm like, oh, okay. And I don't know. I didn't really see that issue with him, but I just thought that was funny coming from president. And so, because I was thinking like, man, I might need some help getting up then, if like. So, but I don't remember any like. There's no issues like getting up and getting going, unless we both just slept in and didn't know if forgot about it. I don't know. So he was really really good, but I think it was pretty short lived with him. I think it was only one transfer maybe, but he was funny. He had some good stories to me. I won't share on here, but
are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, all right.
So,
part 2 with Scott and Glenn on the same episode to share their
oh
story.
man, oh no. So, I mean, yeah, I don't really remember too much else for Sterling. But from there, when I left Parmenter, I then went back up north to the Bridge of Dawn up in Aberdeen, and that's where I served the rest of my mission. So,
Nice.
and that was it's funny because I was reading in my journal about when I moved there, and like the first day I was there, I was like, it's like, oh man, this place is great. Like, I'm gonna love it here. And then the very next day, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be horrible. Like, I don't know why. Like, I think it was the weather. I think it was once again the weather. We're going back into, the fall and winter because it was like my last 3 months. So yeah, like December. It's like October, November, December, and so I went there and I was first with Elder Streeter. So, and he was great. Spencer, I think Spencer Streeter. He was great. And one thing that I loved about him is he packed around this bread maker everywhere. And so that was great that we had fresh bread every, once a week or, anytime I wanted to make it. That was
every day when he was with me.
Oh yeah.
That's where I started gaining weight.
Oh yeah. Well, I needed to at the time. So
I knew it was going to come out. Thanks, Jack. Gosh, that's amazing.
So that kind of helped me out because I mean, every morning when you wake up to that smell, it's pretty easy to get up.
So did you guys? Was it the type of thing where you put it in as you went to bed and then you woke up and it was ready?
I think that's how it was. Was it like?
Yeah, you just throw the ingredients in and set the timer whenever.
And then the next day or whenever, like, boom, fresh bread.
No wonder you had it every day, Jack.
It's like half my food budget when I was with Streeter.
Actually, I do want to go back to Sterling. There was one important thing that I missed in Sterling.
Yeah, go ahead.
Talking about food. So there was a lady there. I don't think she was a member. I maybe, but Roberta was her name, and she had this cafe, Roberta's Cafe. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but so that was where we did a lot of our service work. So we'd go up there, and so we were making like meringues. We were deep frying, battering fish, and like I think a lot of senior people would come in for lunch.
Was the cafe it was like in a church?
It was like close by like an abbey or something up there. Yeah. Because you had to like climb up this, you had to walk up this hill to get to it. I do remember that. But it was great because then afterwards he had some really good fish and chips and meringues, and I love that place. And because I still have her batter recipe. I haven't used it like for a long time though. Like it's been probably like 10 years since I've used it.
Yeah, so I got it as well.
Trying to be healthier, and that's not healthy. But it was good.
It's healthy if you do it like once a quarter.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So that was another thing from Sterling that I really like because I liked spending time up there. That was pretty fun. Got to meet a lot of people up there as well. So now back to the Bridge of Dawn, and I think it was me and Elder Streeter. We started teaching this this guy named Greg Sinclair. I want to say it was with him, but he ended up he did get baptized. I think when it was me and Elder O'Brien, which I'll talk about. But he was that guy was. I mean, he was great. Like, I mean, 1 week. I mean, it was just like he was dead on. He was ready, gung ho, and then a few days later, it's just like, boom, the world's coming apart for him, and it's like, well, hold on here, like, just he had a lot of. He was, I mean, he was around maybe a little bit older than us. I guess he was college age, maybe at the time. I think he was going to the university, I guess, to Aberdeen there or something. That's kind of where we met him. But he was really rough around the edges. But I mean, he had, but his heart was in the right place, I felt. And I mean, he would come out. I think at the time we were teaching. A lot of there was a lot of college students in that area, in the Bridgetown area. So we would teach a lot of Chinese students there. And it was a little hard just because of the language barrier. But they were learning English. So it was pretty nice. But it was like, we had to take it way back. It was like, it wasn't like, starting with, it was like, who's Jesus? Who's God? Like, teaching them, that foundation, which I thought was pretty neat. But I want to say one girl's name, I think her name was Shirley. There was another, I think his name was Kev. I mean, they had very American names. I know that wasn't there, but Kevin. And then there was like a Betsy or Betty that we would teach. And because I remember, I didn't know at the time, but every time we went over there, I was drinking green tea every time. And it was just like, I didn't like it, but that's what they served us. And I don't know if I was supposed to be drinking that, but it was disgusting anyway. It's basically dirty water to me. But
you didn't die.
Yeah, I'm still here. So, but they were super nice. But I remember Greg would come and help teach with these, because I think he might have known some Chinese or something. I can't really remember too much about that, but but that was with Elder Streeter, and then I had the opportunity. So I trained Elder Reed, and then I got the opportunity to train again. But I think it was for one purpose only, because when I got to the mission home, and so I think there wasn't very many coming in on that transfer, I don't think. But I got paired up with Elder O'Brien, and he's from Kentucky, and I'm from Kentucky. And it's just like, all right, I think, the president's playing a joke on us. It's just like, oh, the only Kentucky person. And of course, it's like, oh, do you know each other? It's like, I live at the very north of Kentucky. He lives like in the very southwest. It's like, hundreds of miles away from each other. So, but it was still pretty cool. I mean, he's still got the Kentucky connection. I thought that was pretty neat. But he was a great guy to work with. I hope I didn't frustrate him too much, because he was very, like, Elder O'Brien was like really raring to go. And it's just funny because Elder Reed was like the same way. So, but it's like, I don't remember being that gung ho even when I first came out. Like, I wasn't like, hey, let's go do, like, I just wasn't like that. So I don't know why I was training again, but I don't know if it was just because of that. But to be honest, I loved training, because I think it kept me more focused. It's like, all right, I've got to, try to help these guys. I mean, I'm sure that they can figure it out themselves anyway. That, because they're smart, and it's not rocket science or anything. But Elder O'Brien, he was great to work with. I just hope I didn't ruin him, because it was my last stint on my mission. That's the other thing, is like, I don't know if it was I think we were together. I don't know if we were together 1 or 2 transfers. So if it was one transfer, that I felt really bad for him, because that's like, I'm leaving in 6 weeks. No matter what, you're going to get somebody else. But that was pretty cool. I did listen to. I think he was on. I think it sounds.
He was.
So yeah, he was great. I'd like to catch up with him sometime, because he was he helped me out a lot. I mean, I think he helped me try to stay focused there on my last little bit on my mission, and also just that time of the year. Just it was rough, and I don't know if we were both in this same boat. It was like just the weather getting to us, and yeah, it can be rough there on the North Seas there, up there. But that's pretty much my mission. I want to go back to Sterling again. I forgot something there. See, like Sterling was a great place, because I don't think many missionaries can say they've done this, but like so we got to actually camp out on the banks of Loch Lomond. So that was because I think it was the priesthood that they did like a retreat out there or something for a night. And so we got to cook hot dogs and do all sorts of s'mores and all sorts of stuff, hiking. It was fun. It was a blast. And because I remember, because we took Arthur Coulter, he got to go with us. I don't know if he was baptized yet or not. That was when he was taking the lessons, but he enjoyed it too. But that was just pretty cool, because I think we had to get permission. I think we asked for permission. I hope so. But if not, hey.
That's pretty unique. That's pretty unique, though. I don't think there's anybody that's mentioned. I mean,
were you with Parmenter when that happened?
I think Parmenter. I think it was me and Parmenter, because I think Elder Rhodes was pretty bummed out, because I think we found out about it when me and Rhodes were together, and he had served there for a long time, and then all of a sudden, yeah, that was pretty neat.
Parmenter mentioned it. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, and I think it only rained a little bit, because I mean, you're in Scotland, it's going to rain at some point. But it was nice. There was something else. But yeah, that was pretty much the mission. And I don't remember much about zone conferences, because I know a lot of people were talking about like Sister Vreens that are piggy nose. To be honest, I do not remember that. Like, I don't know how I missed
what.
I'm sorry, but I
don't know how.
Maybe I just don't want to remember it. I don't know.
You were stuck in your study journal writing something while Sister Brains is dancing around on the pulpit.
Yeah. So I just remember the big cookies. I do remember that. Those were always good. And it's funny, because I've actually got to see the Vreens a few times. They've been out because their daughter lives in my ward here. So
really?
Yeah. Which I don't know when she served, but she served in Scotland too. So
oh man,
yeah, Holly. I'm calling it Holly Bloodworth. So now, so
find out when she served, and if it's within our parameters, we'd love to have her on the podcast.
Yeah. I don't want to say ages, so I don't want to.
All right.
Out, So I'll follow up with her on that and let her know. But yeah, it was pretty cool, because I got, it was like one day she moved into the ward, and then somebody I didn't know, because her last name was Bloodworth, and somehow, she went on she went to the Scotland Mission, and she's like, oh, you went to the Scotland Mission, and then she was like, oh, well, who was your mission president? I'm like, oh, Bill, William Vreens or whatever. And she's like, what? That's my dad. I'm like, oh, okay. And then there was one Sunday he just showed up, and it's just like, oh, whoa. And so we've got to go out for a few lunches and stuff when they were out, and hang out with them for a little bit. But I know the past several years, because I talk with Holly about it, where's his health's declining a little bit, but he's still hanging in there. So he's they will never be forgotten. That's for sure.
Yes,
They were
agreed.
a huge influence on my life, and it was just great that I had the opportunity to still stay in touch with them over the years. Actually, see him and talk with them. And so, but yeah,
That's
Really
awesome.
cool.
but yeah. So I guess then the end of the mission, I remember going back up Pratt's Hill, and maybe that's when it snowed. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I do remember Sister Vereen's getting after me. I think I don't know why she was getting after me. I think we were getting ready to go to the airport or something, and I put like my beanie hat on or something, and she was like, she just took it. She's like, you can't wear that until you get home or something. I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know if she was mad at me for something. I don't know. I do remember that because it was kind of like, all right, whatever. So I guess it wasn't professional enough. I don't know.
Again, what Sister Brains doesn't know won't hurt her. As far as, I mean, most of us wore some sort of, beanie hat when it was that cold outside. You couldn't go outside, otherwise you'd freeze.
Yes. I had to cover my ears up somehow.
Yeah.
It was funny though. I think that's pretty much it. All right. So I mean, as far as like teaching, I wish I could remember more of like actually teaching people. I do remember the few though. I mean, it's a tough mission from that perspective. But not impossible. You get those golden nuggets sometimes, and but I think that mission is meant to see, really to build your own testimony a lot. I think because I mean, I look back on my mission, and to be honest, like I really don't talk about my mission very much to people. Even to like Rachel, like usually if I do, it's something negative, which isn't good. And I'm a pretty positive person, so at least I think I am. So from that perspective, it's and I think after listening to a lot of these podcasts, I think that's why I wanted to come on, because it was just like I was like, okay, I wasn't the only one that felt like man, that it wasn't,
the phrase is "this sucks" when we were on our missions. It was hard. It was, it was not any walk in the park, and for many who will never have experienced serving in the UK, it was not easy. That was not easy at all.
I remember there was one time, I don't know if it was in Paisley or not. I do remember coming across some Neds. I think they tried to take my bag or something, and so I just threw it out. Like this is not like me, but let's just say I used some expletives at those guys, and they didn't bother me after that. I was like, hey, so all right. I don't know if Elder Sprague remembers that, but afterwards I was just like, oh man, what did I just do? Like, what where'd that come from? Because then I was like worried, like, man, I could have went badly. You never know how it's going to go with Neds.
Yeah,
it's true.
Because I remember in Paisley we got hit by some kind of sandwich or something. they threw a sandwich across the road. We were going back to our flat. I do remember that. So just little incidents like that makes it kind of funny.
Oh man.
Well, you've talked about a lot of your companions. Is there anybody you didn't serve with, but who you'd like to shout out? Maybe we can get them on.
I don't know. I think you've already had all the ones that I was kind of around that I can remember. But kind of going back, like Elder Allred and Elder Rhodes, those were huge. Like they were huge on my mission. But
I can assure you we've been in touch with Spencer Streeter and with Trevin Hout.
oh, okay.
They're both on the fence at this moment. We're hoping to nudge them
Oh,
over.
okay. Yeah,
So,
that would. Yeah.
I would love to get Rhodes on too. I served around him quite a bit.
Okay.
And I remember him, same as you, being kind of quiet and reserved. I asked him what kind of music are you into? And he's like, rap. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, like hip hop. And he's like, no, like gangster basement rap. It's like, oh, okay. Not what I expected.
That was one thing that we didn't have in common then. So yeah, I wasn't not into that. But I do remember, he
Brian
was.
Rhodes, come on the podcast and share with us what you meant by basement gangster rap. I'd like to know. I'd like to know because that would be intriguing to me for sure.
Yeah. So other Hout, like and Streeter,
And we'll work on getting
good.
your trainer on too if we can.
Hout, I don't, I'm sure Hout had other better companions, so you can definitely talk about them. But I hope I wasn't. He probably wants to forget about me. So.
He might shed some light that you didn't understand, though, Scott.
Maybe,
and that would be interesting for sure as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, coming on, reaching out to us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott, you said at the beginning of this that you didn't think you'd have much to say. And we've been talking now for 100 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I just wish I had more to say about like the actual teaching of people. It's just like I can't, even going through my journals, like I talk about it, but it's like I want to talk about things that I actually remember, not things like, oh, I wrote down, and I was hoping like by coming on here, maybe some of those things would like pop out, but man, I don't know. I'm getting too old for this. I don't know.
Hey, when they do, send us an email, and we can always you can always share it through us. We'd love to hear it, and more than anything, if there's any of these, of your companions that are a little bit shy or bashful about coming on, if you'd like to come on as a guest host and we can have you on together, that would be awesome too, so that you guys can reconnect, reminisce, and do all that together for sure. Yeah,
thanks. Yeah, I like what you guys are doing. This is great. It's definitely good, especially after I think it's like kind of the right timing too, like around 20 years. Just it's kind of neat.
We agree.
We love you, Scott.
All right. Well, thanks.
Yeah, love you, Scott. Thanks for being our brother in Scotland.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, brother. Cheerio.
All right. Cheerio.
Bye.